Every British parliamentary session has time dedicated to foreign policy issues. This time it was dominated by one subject, the situation in Gaza, and a repeated response from Foreign and Commonwealth Minister Bill Rammell.
Our current focus is on securing an immediate and a permanent ceasefire in Gaza. The Prime Minister and the Foreign Secretary have urged both sides to stop the violence and fulfil their humanitarian obligations. Last week's Security Council resolution at the United Nations, tabled by the United Kingdom, called for an immediate ceasefire. The government is also working on making a ceasefire sustainable, including exploring ways to stop arms trafficking and opening the crossings into Gaza. Our overriding priority at the moment is to do everything possible, both diplomatically and politically, to get to a ceasefire. That's what we are driving towards. We have, nevertheless, consistent with that, repeatedly called, both publicly and crucially privately, on all parties to fulfil their humanitarian obligations and to facilitate the delivery and distribution of aid, and that we will continue to do. There is a desperate, desperate situation in the Gaza Strip at the moment and in southern Israel. That is why we urgently need a ceasefire. And we need to remember that all the while that this conflict is taking place, the prospects for a longer-term, durable Middle East peace settlement are moving further away. That is why this situation is so important and why we've argued as strongly as we have for a ceasefire.
He then turned to the apparent diplomatic stalemate with Iran.
Mr. Speaker, we remain seriously concerned about Iran's nuclear activities. It is difficult to believe their claim that their nuclear programme is intended for purely peaceful purposes. Iran continues to enrich uranium and to increase its capacity to enrich uranium in defiance of 5 UN Security Council resolutions. They are failing to cooperate fully with the IAEA, and we will continue to work closely with international partners to persuade Iran to suspend enrichment and to engage in substantive negotiations leading to a diplomatic solution of the issue.
He also spoke of genuine fears of Iran, terrorism and nuclear capability.
I think this is a real issue of concern. We remain fundamentally committed to resolving this issue diplomatically, and we remain committed to the E3+3 dual-track strategy. But that means, bluntly, that Iran has a stark choice. There will be increasingly tough sanctions to persuade the Iranians to change course. However, if they take the alternative path, there can be a dialogue that will lead to full negotiations if the Iranians suspend their enrichment-related activities. That is the argument that we are putting forward. That is the offer that we are seeking to get Iran to engage with, and we will be looking to work on that with the new US administration when it is formed next week.
He then turned his attention to the political situation in Zimbabwe.
I think it is critically important that the genuine crisis that is taking place within Zimbabwe is brought to an end. And I do think regional neighbours within Africa have a particularly important role to bring to bear in making it abundantly clear to Robert Mugabe that current conduct is completely and utterly unacceptable.
This was a strong foreign policy update from the British government, with no doubt many more to follow in the future.